Hey guys, good morning. Alright, so this is the review video to get you ready to knock out that last and final unit test. I apologize right now for the poor video and sound quality. I'm having to work on an old computer, so it is what it is. But let's do a quick review, and then you knock out your last unit test. Alright, so let's get started. So remember, this is going over JFK, LBJ, civil rights, and Vietnam, okay? All right, so everything starts 1960. We've got JFK going up against Richard Nixon. Richard Nixon was the VP for Eisenhower in the 50s. JFK is our young, energetic senator who's running as the Democrat. The 1960s election is a big deal because it is the first televised presidential debate. Let's see, remember a couple of key pieces. We start to remember that the presidential candidates all name their agendas and platforms for their legislation in office. JFK's is the New Frontier. Lyndon Johnson, who's also known as LBJ, his is the Great Society, and his is the one that's the War on Poverty. All right, so Kennedy is really going to push for a lot of spending on military. Again, remember, keep in mind that the Bay of Pigs incident happens under Kennedy's administration, as well as the Cuban Missile Crisis. So a lot of funding is going towards defense and the military. Kennedy has what he calls his flexible response plan, which is a buildup of our military as well as nuclear missile supply. Kennedy's the one that pushes NASA to go bigger than what the Soviet Union did with Sputnik, putting a satellite up. He said, let's put a man on the moon. We do that July of 1969. All right, fast forward. Kennedy's going to be assassinated November 22nd, 1963. There is a conspiracy theory around his assassination. We have what we call the Warren Commission, which is an investigation into his assassination. They found and believe that Lee Harvey Oswald was the lone assassin. Kennedy is also going to be known, backing up just a little bit, known for his quote during his inaugural address, ask not what your country can do for you, but ask what you can do for your country, calling on citizens to help others, to help their country. Kennedy had a really hard time passing a lot of his programs just because a lot of Congress didn't really agree with a lot of his New Frontier programs and platforms. Thought it was really expensive, and it was. The Alliance for Progress is the United States working with Latin American countries as we try and build those relationships. Let's see. All right, Cuban Missile Crisis. So we have the USSR that puts missiles in Cuba. The United States puts missiles in Turkey. The Soviet Union does back down once we agree to withdraw our missiles. But the USSR, Soviet Union, does back down first. All right, now skipping ahead to civil rights. Rosa Parks is going to be arrested for not giving up her seat on the bus, which will start the bus boycotts. College students, like the Greensboro A&T, will start sit-ins in restaurants. Martin Luther King Jr. is the nonviolent advocator for peaceful protest. He said that he draws his inspiration from Gandhi. Little Rock, Arkansas has the Little Rock 9, which has 9 high school students that are going to integrate and try and go into a newly segregated school. In the end, the National Guard has to be brought in to assist. Let's see, students establish the SNCC, Students for Nonviolent Correlation. Johnson is a very talented politician, and so he has a lot easier time working with Congress to get them to pass a lot of new laws, several of which he does in memory of Kennedy. The Selma March campaign is to encourage African Americans to get involved and register to vote. Remember, Plessy versus Ferguson, way back when, had established separate but equal. Brown versus Board of Education is what's going to overturn that. Freedom Riders are riding through the South trying to desegregate the bus system. Robert Kennedy, JFK's youngest brother, is going to run for the 1968 presidential election. However, he will be assassinated. Let's see. He, while he's running for office, does try and I forgot what I was going to say. Push through a voting rights bill. Sorry. All right. Civil Rights Act of 1964 is going to push through a lot of civil rights legislation as we try and break those segregation and racist barriers. 1950s and 60s, a lot of African Americans were trapped in poverty, and again, that's one thing that LBJ is going to fight against. Vietnam's another thing that's going to get started. We know that Vietnam was actually formerly part of France. They gained their independence in 1954, and from there they divide. Communist North, Democratic South. We've got some new pieces of technology we're going to use during that war. We're going to use Agent Orange, which is what we're going to use to try and burn up the jungles where the Viet Cong are trying to get after American soldiers. As the fight begins, Eisenhower is going to be the first to send in troops. Kennedy will then follow because, again, we want to show the United States as being strong and still fighting for containment on communism. In South Vietnam, a monk is going to set himself on fire as he protests the war in Vietnam. Operation Rolling Thunder is pushed through to try and push the end of the Vietnam War by having a massive bombing campaign. The Tet Offensive is going to be a major turning point. The United States does claim that it is a victory. We said that we won. Just because the Vietnam had more deaths than we did. But unfortunately, the Pentagon Papers are going to get out, and the rest of the United States citizens will realize that we are fighting a losing war, that the government is keeping a lot of secrets from us, and the war is not going as well as advertised. Alrighty, so the defeat in Vietnam kind of shows the rest of the world that the domino theory might be right, that if one country falls to communism, others might follow. So, of course, we're a little concerned about that. During the war, again, we drop napalm, all right, a jellied gasoline explosive. That's another new piece of technology besides Agent Orange. The My Lao massacre happens, which is where a village of Vietnamese citizens are completely massacred, and that gets out on the news. So, of course, if people didn't hate the Vietnam War before, they definitely hated it after that was announced. All right, let's go over some New Deal, New Frontier and Great Society programs. Health care for those living below the poverty line is Medicaid. Health care for the elderly is Medicare. Let's see. Helping unemployed young people get jobs. That's what the Job Corps did. Preschool program is the Head Start program. And let's see. Putting young people to work in neighborhoods is the VISTA program. We didn't really talk much about that one. All right, let's talk about people. Martin Luther King Jr. is the minister who wanted to push nonviolent protest. The leader of the SNCC is going to be Stokely Carmichael, who starts the Black Power movement. We've got Miss Linda Brown, who's going to be the student denied admission to her school as they start to integrate the schools in the South. First African-American student to integrate into the University of Mississippi is James Meredith, and the spokesperson for the Black Nation of Islam is Malcolm X. And last but not least, let's finish up on some Vietnam War. Fortified villages where peasants were moved to are called strategic hamlets. The network of jungles used to get into South Vietnam is the Ho Chi Minh Trail. Massive surprise attack on the Vietnamese New Year's, the Tet Offensive. Defense Department documents that are leaked are the Pentagon Papers. And this authorized the president to take any measures needed as the Gulf of Tonkin Resolution. All right, good luck, guys.